headlined Hard Rock Hell in 2008, I believe, when you were still Thin Lizzy. So what's it like to be asked to come back to the place?
Well, I know I've heard Scott talk about it, because I joined Thin Lizzy 2.5 years ago. So it was interesting when Hard Rock Hell came up on the schedule. Scott was like, wow, it was pretty rugged last time. Just kind of the facilities, and I think maybe the weather was a little touchy then. But, man, the cool thing for a band like us is that Hard Rock Hell offers a great platform for people to see us and to hear us. And the thing I've noticed walking around here for the last 24 hours is it's a real community. Just like how everyone dresses. I love how they got their favorite band on their hoodie or on their shirt, and you can just tell, man, these are our people. And nothing is more important to us right now than getting in front of as many people as we can. And the Hard Rock Hell audience is custom made for Black Star Riders.
So since 2008, Thin Lizzy have become Black Star Riders. You released a fantastic new album with All Hell Breaks Loose earlier this year. In terms of a live setting, where is the emphasis now? Is this still a celebration of Thin Lizzy, or is it more about showing off the new stuff?
It's more about showing up with the new stuff now. I think that this band will always celebrate Thin Lizzy and certainly the genius that was Phil Lynott for the rest of our lives. I know I can certainly speak for Scott to some degree that, Phil was really responsible for kind of giving us all this amazing opportunity. And I think now, particularly since Ricky began fronting Thin Lizzy in 2010, I think the Thin Lizzy faithful know by now that everyone's hearts are in the right place. They've seen enough live footage, they've read enough interviews to know that our debt of gratitude and our absolute, honor of that band is genuine, and it's coming from the right place. So I just think we'll always celebrate Thin Lizzy, but we're so proud of Black Star Riders, this album, this collection of songs. We're already fast at work on the second batch of tunes. So this is definitely, it's not a project.
So you say you write new stuff. Do you write on the road, or what's your process there?
Yeah, basically due to the fact that everyone lives in different places, we have to take advantage of the time we have together. Because it's a bit of a challenge once we all go home. Modern technology makes it a little nicer because you can always Skype each other or, email ideas back and forth. But I just know Ricky and I work really fast when we're in the same room together. So we basically wrote the bulk of the tunes on the first album on my iPhone. We would just record riffs and melodies and ideas, chord progressions into that thing. And it'll be much of the same this time.
It must be quite fun writing in terms of the group of you. There's Ricky and there's Scott and yourself, and you're all coming from different musical backgrounds and stuff, but you're all coming together with the same goal of creating this great music that carries on the legacy almost of Thin Lizzy. So is it good fun to have so many different individuals in that band that work well together? Absolutely.
It's been a real eye-opener for me, because typically in the past when I've been in a situation where you had multiple songwriters, it can get very crowded. And sometimes the mission statement of the whole thing gets a little lost. I'd really wrestled with that in a couple of my old bands, because you kind of need it. It's always better if there's one or two people sort of driving the ship. It's not the case here, man. And what's amazing is that whatever ideas anyone brings in, they all seem to work under the moniker of Black Star Riders. And especially now that, as you may know, the first album was written initially under the umbrella that it was going to be a Thin Lizzy album. So I think it probably sounds even more, it's more of a tip of the hat to the Thin Lizzy sound, whatever that is, than what the new record will be. Who knows what it's going to sound like, but I do know it'll have lots of guitar, more great lyrics from Ricky, a lot of great stories. We're just a fan of the big choruses, man. We like to write songs that people can sing along to. So it'll be more of that for sure.
And that was definitely one of Thin Lizzy's trademarks, along with the lead harmonies, which obviously has influenced so many guitarists afterwards with the big choruses. But the name change, do you think it's helped the way that people view the record? If they saw this, if they listened to All Hell Breaks Loose as a Thin Lizzy record without Phil Lynott, they may have been a bit more closed off and ready to just sort of say it's not the same, Phil's not there. But when listening to it as a Black Star Riders album, people seem to be a little more open to it. And it's been getting a lot of rave reviews.
Absolutely, brother. No question about it, man. It would have been impossible to live up to that. We could have written My Woman from Tokyo, Bohemian Rhapsody, Hellbent for Leather, all on one record, and it would never compare to The Boys Are Back in Town and Jailbreak and Dancing in the Moonlight, because that's kind of why you give a group of songs a name anyway. Like, this is Thin Lizzy, this is Bruce Springsteen, this is The Clash. So to call it Thin Lizzy with no Phil Lynott singing it, it's not Thin Lizzy. It's really and truly not, because I'm a fan. I was a fan before I joined the band. If I wasn't in the band and you came to me and said, hey, Thin Lizzy's going to make a new album of new songs with no Phil Lynott songs in it, I don't think I'd be interested. So I completely understand when the diehards, were saying, I don't know, guys, I'm not sure about this. Even people that would come to the show and see the band, and they know that the band is great, probably the best tribute to Thin Lizzy that has ever been assembled. But man, you start talking about writing new songs, people get very precious about that. And again, I get it. So it's as challenging as it was initially to decide to not do it as Thin Lizzy, it was without a question the best thing we could have ever done. It was a good decision.
I think it was certainly a risk, because, if you look at a band like Alice in Chains, they've carried on with the same name without Lane, and it was all about Lane and Jerry. And so there was a risk of that not being pulled off and people just forgetting all about it, but at the same time it has worked. But and then on the flip side of that, if you change your name, you've got to build a reputation up again, and you won't play the same size venues.
I think Alice in Chains is probably the closest comparison that any of us can come up with. The difference with those guys is that, as you just said, it was really the songwriting chemistry between Jerry and Lane. And I think all of us truly know and believe that Jerry did the right thing. He stepped back from it for a long time. He made some solo albums, he worked on some other things. But that their legacy was so big, those songs are so timeless, that I think now we're all happy to see an Alice in Chains back out there. And listen, man, Jerry was pivotal to the songwriting success of the original band. The difference with Thin Lizzy, obviously, is that Phil, he wrote most of that stuff himself. Though the guys would all contribute in the studio and kind of mold the songs into shape, Phil would show up with an acoustic guitar and a whole notebook of lyrics and go, hey, here's what I've got. And to me, that's the essence of songwriting. So you still got a great band in the form of Alice in Chains, playing underneath that. So it still sounds like, the band. So it was different now with Black Star Riders, and particularly without Brian Downey on the drums. Brian is such a stylist, and could be argued, one of the great rock drummers of all time, because his approach is so unique. Yeah, we keep looking for comparisons to what we've done, and it's hard to really come up with some. Listen, man, I won't kid you, we were scared to death. It was nerve-wracking to think, okay, we're going to leave the security blanket of Thin Lizzy and call it something else. But the one thing we felt good about was the strength of the songs. We really believed we had some good songs. So that's what's so fantastic about this whole past 6 months, is it's kind of validated what we hoped would happen. And really being here at Hard Rock Hell is sort of the ultimate kind of capper, man. This is such a great festival and so many great bands, and we're honored to be headlining.
I saw you at Download Festival earlier this year, and I remember walking to the arena, and it was absolutely throwing it down. Everyone was getting soaked, and then as soon as I got there and you walked on stage, the sun came out. So what do you remember of that show?
I do remember the rain. Download, again, was an honor. We were so excited that they asked us to step in after Buck Cherry had to pull out, so we felt very fortunate that we got the call for that. Download is certainly a legendary festival, and we were there on a great day. Queens of the Stone Age was playing that night, Iron Maiden played that night, and we have friends and all those bands that we were on the bill with. So I just remember that we felt like, okay, we're maybe the luckiest guys on this whole piece of property because we have a brand new name, a brand new album. I don't think there's a better launch that you could dream up than, having a slot on the main stage, I think we played Saturday. Yeah, I mean, come on. Saturday, middle night of the festival, it was fantastic, man. And the adrenaline was definitely up. I mean, I won't kid you. It's pretty riveting to step out on stage and to see people. And that was the other thing. We were knocked out, man, that everybody was there in front of us. It would have been easy for people to go, well, I'm going to go see something else, or I'm going to take a break and I'll come back later. Epic crowd. They hung in there with us through the rain and the crappy weather. So it was awesome.
I have to ask, looking at Wikipedia, the source of all knowledge.
Yes.
Apparently, Alice Cooper has taught you a couple of things about golf.
He has taught me many things about golf, and the main thing Alice has taught me about golf is that if you're going to do it on the road, you got to go early. You got to get it done and out of the way. It's the experience of playing golf with Alice on the road is really, I don't think you can do it anywhere else. Alice has this incredible association with the Callaway Golf Company. And I've met so many of those guys over the last few years, and they would set everything up. So basically, they'd come pick us up, drive us there, take care of setting up the round. We would play, and they'd take some pictures, then they'd give us a ride back. It was so easy. Now it's not like that. It's like if Scotty and I want to play, we got to call ahead, we got to rent clubs, we got to figure out a way to get there, figure out a way to get back. So I've talked about it many times. Obviously, Thin Lizzy's music, changed my life. And I was an Alice Cooper fan, as well, but not quite the intensity that I was for Lizzy. But I prefer playing the Thin Lizzy songs, but I really miss the golf.
How does the writing process compare to working with Alice then? Because obviously you've got Scott on one side and then you've got Alice on the other, who are two terrific songwriters. So how does it compare working with the two of them?
Well, obviously Alice has been there from day one of his illustrious career, and he's, basically contributing as a songwriter on every song that's ever been put on an Alice Cooper record. So Alice has a very refined sense of what he wants to say, what he wants to write about, what is interesting to him, and what he believes will be interesting to his audience. To me, that's the mark of a great artist. And, you would hope, being around as long as he has, that he would indeed have a real sense of that. So the thing with Alice, it's like you really had to play him a piece of music that would get him excited. And, the other thing with Alice is that he's collaborated with so many people through the years. More times than not, he would collaborate with people outside of the band. So I always accepted that and knew that coming in. So it kind of depends on who was producing his record that would sort of dictate who was going to write with what, and, et cetera, et cetera. With Scott and certainly the Black Star Riders, it was a completely different thing. I know that Ricky and Scott both have expressed many times that they were grateful to have another songwriter in the band such as myself that has a history of writing. And I love to write as much as I love to perform and play guitar. So it truly helped the band, having so many good writers there. And that's when I was so ready to get moving on the next album, because we sort of feel like the monkey is off our back now. The band name works, the sound works, the rock community has been so accepting of us, which we are eternally grateful for. So we feel like we kind of owe it to them as well as ourselves to come out with an amazing follow-up album. So we're ready to get started.
So you're just ready now to go out and forge Black Star Riders' his own legacy now and carry on where you've started up?
Yes. As Scott has said a few times lately, I mean, there'll be the odd Thin Lizzy date pop up here and again. There's nothing scheduled as of now, but it definitely gets talked about. We'll get calls from promoters and calls from the agency and things like that. But, man, things are just full steam ahead right now. This tour of Europe and certainly the UK has been fantastic. We've got 2 weeks remaining. and we're going to tour the U.S. in March of 2014. There's a Japan trip, some other stuff before we get in the studio.